Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sisters of the Strange. I'm Shae.
I'm Landrey, and I think we have successfully survived our Halloween chaos.
We did it. We made it through Halloween.
We did. We recorded and put out like 5 to 6 episodes in like 1 week.
1 week.
We prepped all of it because I had to go out of town.
We did so good. And I think the only thing that did for us was to show us that we can do it.
We're capable.
So I think that we're going to have to just
do more.
Rally. Yeah.
Be better.
We're just going to have to do it. So we may still do 2 a week. We don't know yet. You guys will have to let us know how you feel about that.
Yeah, we might be able to. And it might be like cool because you can get murder and paranormal in the same week. Because I know there's some people who are more like, I'm just here for the murder, or I'm just here for this. And so they kind of have to like rotate weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm really setting them off this week because I'm doing murder this week. So if you're here for paranormal, my bad.
Sorry.
My bad.
We did paranormal on Thursday.
Yeah, we've done a lot of paranormal. Honestly, the last few ones were pretty paranormal. Pretty paranormal-esque.
Paranormal-esque. We also hit some pretty big milestones.
We did.
Finally this week with Spotify. So, woo!
Woo!
Woo! Thanks, guys. One more thing that we didn't acknowledge in the episode that came out on Thursday. We're 1 year old.
Yes.
We had a 1 year old birthday.
We did. We're 1 year old. I can't believe it's been a year.
I know.
Like, it feels like we've been doing it for a long time. But a year just sounds so substantial.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Lots of good things that have been happening lately.
Okay, so this week I'm switching things up if you didn't catch that earlier. And I am talking about a serial killer.
Oh, not just a murder, but a serial killer?
A serial killer.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. An unknown American serial killer.
Okay.
Slay,
queen.
He is also known as the Chameleon Killer, if you've ever heard of that.
I have heard of him.
Yeah, he was just on like an unknown, there's like a whole list of like unknown. It's just because they're not, Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, of course.
But let us first start in 1986. Also, before I truly start here, I've tried to record a murder episode before and it went very bad, so stick around.
This is going to be fine.
I just have to like piece it together and my brain works in a different way. And it's almost like when you're doing your job and you're training somebody and you're like, why are they not doing what I just told them? And it's because you only told them the baseline information because you assume that they know the rest of the information. Mm-hmm. I tend to do that here.
Okay.
That's what I did with the last one. I was like, well, you should understand this. But the last one was also a very confusing situation.
The last one was really confusing. I think this will be fine.
Yeah, this is still moving around quite a bit, but like we'll run through a better timeline at the end. I kind of went back and like chronologically did it anyways, so we'll see. So let us start in 1986. There's a couple who lives at the Holiday Post RV Park, and they're known as Mr. and Mrs. Decker. So apparently it was known as the Holiday Post RV Park because like right next door to it, there used to be a Santa's Village, and it was like a 26-acre mass land of Santa land.
Wonderland, yeah. Those been around that long, dang.
That's crazy, yeah. While they lived there, there was also another family living there named Gordon Jensen and his daughter Lisa. Mrs. Decker was like very sympathetic to Gordon. She was like, oh, he's a single father. He like needs help. Lisa kind of looked neglected. It just always didn't look like she was being taken care of. Mrs. Decker said she could kind of hear her, like Lisa, like crying in the middle of the night or like crying at random times. And he just came, like, kind of seemed disheveled. And so she was like, I'm going to kind of like help this family out, and she would go over there and check on him and all the things. And it got to the point where Gordon was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm having a really hard time raising her. Her mom, my wife, died of cancer.
Aww.
And it's just been like a really hard time. And I would love some help, whatever you can offer, like, go for it. So then Mrs. Decker was like, well, actually, my daughter and son-in-law, they're having a really hard time getting pregnant. So like maybe they'd be willing to adopt Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, okay. And he just like wrote a letter saying like, you can have her, like didn't do formal adoption, didn't do anything like that. He just was like, here's a letter and you can have Lisa.
He said, say less.
Yeah. And so Mrs. Decker and her husband loaded up Lisa and took her to San Bernardino, California. Bernardino? I say it wrong. You're fine.
San Bernardino.
I'm like, I had a T in there that doesn't belong. But they took Lisa there. And so Lisa's living there for a little bit. And they start to kind of like, she starts to kind of slowly tell this story where she's like, I was being, abused. I was being touched in ways I like wasn't wanting to be touched. And she's only 5 years old.
Oh no.
And she's like saying all of these things. And so they're like, okay, well, maybe we should go try and contact him again and like check him out. But when they get to the RV park, he is gone.
Oh yeah.
So the police kind of have to get involved because at this point it's a kid that no one really, like Lisa, no one really knows who she belongs to.
Like legally?
At this point in time. Yeah. And so like, especially because they didn't do a legal adoption. And so kind of like CPS has to come and take her, which unfortunately takes her away from the Deckers who did kind of rescue her in the sense. So yeah, so the police get involved. They come back. And when they're going through his trailer trying to figure out like where he may have gone or who he might have been, they start finding like all of his documentation and it's fake. Like, so who is Gordon Jensen? No one really knows. His license plate was a Texas license plate, but it wasn't registered to like anything or anybody. It like went back to like a motel. And like all of it, like his social security number he used to get his job at the RV park. He was like an electrical man at the RV park. His social security number was like fake. You're in the 1980s. I guess they don't check that stuff.
They're like, whatever. You got a social security number? Great.
Write it down. Yeah. And so they like are like, I don't know who this guy is. And so they are able to actually get a hold of some audio tapes that he had used, I guess, maybe security wise at the RV park. And so they were able to fingerprint it. And he comes back as a man named Curtis Kimball.
Okay.
So now he's Curtis Kimball. He was Gordon Jensen.
This is H.H. Holmes.
That's literally on the way here. I was like, I think at the very end of it, I'm going to say something about how he's like H.H. Holmes, but like not Murder Castle, but like the aliases are insane. Okay, so now he's on the run again, right? Like he's like, I've left, but they do put charges out for him. They're like, okay, like neglect of a child, sexual abuse of a child, whatever the, the actual charges for that. And so he does have something going on for him, but he disappears. It isn't until 2 years later in 1988 that Curtis Kimball is pulled over for driving a stolen car.
Oop.
Then he is arrested and he is sentenced to 2.5 years in state prison for the stolen car and for like the child neglect and things like that.
2.5 years for child neglect?
Mm-hmm. And sexual abuse of a child? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I think in that he pled guilty to only like one of the charges to where like the lesser charges were like swept under the rug.
Okay.
And so he's in prison 2.5 years. He gets out, you're supposed to go on parole and he's like bails. So then he already has a charge. Now he's got a charge for parole as well. But now in 2002, all these years later, so he's out of prison in 1990. So
10 years.
That's like a 10, 12 year gap. So now we're going to move into 2002 into East Richmond Heights, California. And there's a girl named Eunsoon Jun. She's 44 years old. She's Korean. She moved here when she was a teenager. She's known as being very loving. She's known as being a gentle soul. She's incredibly intelligent. She has her master's degree in biochemistry. Her friend Renee has not been able to reach Eunsoon and said that her husband is who answers the phone every time she calls. It's been about 4 months and she's like, hey, I need someone to go check into this. So Eunsoon is actually married to a man named Larry Vanner.
Okay.
They met in 1999 and they got married in 2001 at a small wedding in her backyard. So at this point, Eunsoon's missing. Larry is not a suspect. They just need to ask him questions because his wife is missing and has been for 4 months and he didn't report it, but her friend did. So they're like, can you just explain where she might be? Like, is she on a work trip? Like, what's going on? And so he willingly went down to the Costa County Police Department and he answered some questions. But he kept changing his details. He wasn't like, he just kind of small things though. Like the story that he landed on stayed the same for the most part, but he was changing small things. And they, like the investigators were like, he seems really intelligent, but you can tell he's withholding things on purpose. And there's actually a clip of him and he's like, well, you're not my priest or my doctor. So like, I'm not going to say much more than I already have. Like, I don't have to confess anything to you or explain anything to you. Like, I guess your priest, you'll go into the...
As far as like our marriage goes or like...
Just about anything, really. Like, he's like, I don't really have to like talk
like,
if I don't want
the story,
to.
But...
Yeah. So he like gives some information, but then he also uses lines like that where it's like, okay, maybe he's a little bit intelligent, whatever. So the story he settles on is that his wife had gone to Oregon, had a nervous breakdown, and ended up in a facility to receive psychiatric care. And so, of course, they call this said facility and they're like, hey, do you have anyone here by Eunsoon Jun? And they're like, no. And they're like, okay, do you have anyone here that looks like this? And they're like, no. And so that like throws a red flag.
Yeah.
So while Larry is in custody, they did a fingerprint scan and they were also they did a fingerprint scan, but then they also decided that they were going to go look at their house. Like, maybe there's some signs here. And so they had his keys because they took him when he went to the station, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go into the house and they're like, nothing's really like weird in here, except for the fact that it looks like a girl has never lived here. Like, none of Eunsoon's stuff really seemed to be there. It didn't make much sense as to like why all of her things were gone. And one of the investigator goes into a shed in the backyard and finds a sawzall and an axe that look like it has like blood splatter and human hair on it. And so they're like, okay, that's kind of odd. We're going to call forensics at this point. And so forensics comes in because there's just this massive pile of kitty litter in the corner, which like maybe if you had cats running around and it was like an unsanitary home, you could maybe be like, I guess that's where they dump their kitty litter, right? But she's like, okay, we're going to call forensics in and we're going to kind of slowly like move this kitty litter away and see what happens. And so as forensics comes in, they do notice there's blood splatter on the wall, like right behind the kitty litter pile. And they're moving the kitty litter away and they are starting to find like human remains. The kitty litter not only masked the smell for 4 months, so it's a very effective solution, apparently.
I honestly never heard that before.
I know people use kitty litter like truck shops and stuff. They use it to clean the oil off the floor, so that tracks.
But you wouldn't think for like a smell, I guess.
No, I mean, other than normally has like odor guard.
Yeah, that means true. It does, but I would have never thought about that.
Not for that much, you know?
Honestly, yeah.
So it masks the smell. They're finding like human remains that are like kind of mutilated, but not too bad, you know, but you can tell there's been some issues done to the body. And the kitty litter also had soaked up all of the bodily fluids, just like it would oil and things like that. So very effective, but they did find Eunsoon Jun in that pile. So they were like, okay.
Was it just her remains in that pile?
Yes, just her remains. Okay. And at this point, they still they're like, okay, like this could be Larry. Like, you know, this makes sense that it's Larry, but we still need to have a little bit more like to nail it to him to where he can't get away from it. You know, like we've really got to make sure that this is how this is going to go. And so throughout this, they have found out that within the last 4 months, he used Eunsoon's card at an ATM and took money out. And in that same like area, shopping center type situation, strip mall, there was an old pet store. And so the investigator was like, I'm going to go see if maybe he bought some kitty litter there and maybe they can identify his face in a lineup and just maybe that'll work. And so she goes to this place and she asks to speak to the manager and she's like, did anyone in the last like, you know, little bit buy like an obscene amount of kitty litter? And he was like, actually, yeah, there was this guy that came in and he bought 10 25-pound bags of kitty litter 4 months ago. And she was like, well, that matches perfect. Yeah. And so she pulled out a picture of like a lineup and was like, was it any of these guys? And he pointed at him and then he like went through the payroll and saw who was working that day and pulled all of those people to the side and they all pointed at this Larry Vanner guy. They're like, yep, he did it.
That's Larry. Yeah.
So at this point, they're able to kind of nail him with that.
Yeah, especially if they don't have a cat.
Yeah, I don't know if they had cats or not, but like if not, then that's like that should be your number one thing of like, either way, 10 25-pound bags of kitty litter that's a lot.
It is a lot of kitty litter. Crazy. But I mean, hey, if you're just preparing, maybe your cats shit a lot. My cat shits all the time.
You're like, I buy 10 bags at a time every time.
I buy 3 at a time.
That's fair. No, that's fair. So they all do point at him and it is Larry Vanner. But as I mentioned, he got his fingerprints done. He willingly was like, yeah, I'm gonna get my fingerprints done. But at this point in time, they are like automated. It's a scanner. It's in a computer database. The first time he ever gave his fingerprints years prior, it was like on paper pad and it took weeks to get back the results. So he probably didn't realize that they were going to get his results back when he was in custody to learn that he was Curtis Kimball, who already had an arrest warrant out for evading parole and had a prior history, you know? And so they were like, all right, so Larry Vanner is actually Curtis Kimball. And so they're starting to track back him. And as they're tracking back him, he is arrested. He is sentenced. He is in prison for 15 years now. 15 years to life or something like that. Like, so he did get arrested. He went to court, everything like that. Like he's in prison and they're like, okay, but this isn't enough. Like, yeah, we know that this is Curtis Kimball. We know he killed her. We know that he had a daughter named Lisa. Like these are the things we know, but there's a lot of blank spaces here. Like who is Lisa's mom? Who's her real parents? Yeah. Like is he actually her dad? And at some point in time, whenever he got Lisa taken away from him or whenever he willingly gave her over, Lisa did submit a DNA test, but Larry never submitted one because he was like high and dry on the run. They somehow never got one and it fell through the cracks. to where they couldn't see if Lisa was actually even his daughter or not.
Oh boy.
And so this investigator now is like, this is weird. I actually probably doubt that Lisa is his daughter if this is like a weird little pattern he's got going on. So we're going to dig deeper into this. So at this point, though, now that it's been so many years prior, after he's been arrested, he's in prison, he does have DNA for them to test. And then so she tests his DNA, she tests Lisa's DNA, and it is not a match.
Oop.
So she's like, all right, so who do you belong to?
Where did this little girl come from?
Yeah. And so in the early 2000s, DNA databases were nothing like they were today.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't that way. It was like they used a lot of Ancestry, which is why a lot of people have been scared to give their DNA to Ancestry. Is they're like, what crimes are you going to tie me to, or you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, they were using Ancestry, and it was just such a small like database that there wasn't really anything sticking out. There was some matches, but nothing close enough to be like able to really narrow anything down. And so it took all the way until March of 2015.
Ooh.
So another 13 years later.
Holy crap.
That the DNA bases have grown and there's more people on Ancestry and all of the good things like that. So one of the investigators used Ancestry DNA and found a really close connection to Lisa's DNA. And there was a website called DNAadoptions.com or something like that. And you could contact them if you were someone who had been adopted. And they would really work backwards with the information you could give them. It could take a year. It could take 2 years. Like it could take all this time. And they would slowly build a case to be like, okay, so you probably belong to like this family. And then you could contact the family and see like, is there any connection here or something like that? And so the investigator reached out to the DNA website and was like, hey, I know that this isn't necessarily an adoptions case, but could you work with what we have and maybe help us find who she potentially belongs to? Like it's at this point in time, it's almost like a crime case.
That's an appropriate, request.
Yeah.
That's an appropriate request for them to be like, hey, can you help us out with this?
Can you please help me figure this out? But they did. The adoptions agency was like, yeah, we can totally do that. And they helped build a family tree with the information they were able to get through Ancestry. And they found her closest relative. So they actually did all of that within a year and gave the name of Robert Bowden. He was from New Hampshire, which seemed like a really far stretch from California. But the investigator called him nonetheless and was like, hey, we have this going on. And Robert told the detective that he had a cousin named Denise and she had a 6-month-old daughter, Dawn, and they left with their with Denise's boyfriend in 1981 and no one had ever heard from them ever again.
Oh.
And so then that cousin talked to Denise's father, and his name is Armand. And so Armand started talking to the New Hampshire Police Department. And so the investigators in California are talking to the New Hampshire Police Department just over the phone and kind of piecing it together, like while Denise's parents and stuff are over here and they're still in California, but they're just trying to figure out like, did Curtis Kimball ever go that way? Like what is going on here?
Yeah. How is he related to this?
Yeah. Denise's father was like, said the same story. She met a guy, she left, and it was like a voluntary missing persons. It wasn't like we had a fight and she left, so you couldn't file anything. And we just never heard from her again. We didn't think anything. I mean, they probably wondered where she were, but like, what can you do, Right. And so no one ever investigated it. No one really filed anything for it. During one of the visits, New Hampshire's police department showed Denise's father a picture of Kimball and said, is this maybe who she was dating? And he's like, oh yeah, that's Bob Evans.
Bob Evans?
So he's Bob Evans. He is Curtis Kimball and he is Gordon Jensen at this point in time. And they took DNA from Armand and they compared it back to Lisa's, which was the daughter, like the young daughter, and it was a match. So she is actually Dawn Bowden and her mother was Denise. But now they're wondering, where's Denise? Like,
where'd you go, girl?
We've traced all of this. We have Lisa still, but what happened to Denise? So as New Hampshire's piecing this together, there's a couple of like cold cases that are in the back of their minds. And there's one, and it was in the Bear Brook area. And it was actually a place where Curtis Kimball had lived close to. I think he had like worked near the area as well, things like that. But this case involved 4 victims, 1 female adult and 3 children. So November 10th of 1985, a hunter in the woods near Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown, New Hampshire, found a 55-gallon metal drum, and inside were the badly decomposed bodies of an adult woman and a young girl.
Mm-hmm.
They were wrapped in plastic, and their cause of death was blunt force trauma, and that was just like Unsun's cause of death. So they were like, this is matching up.
Could be connected.
There's a lot of ties going on here. Then on May 9th of 2000, so what is that, 15 years later, a second 55-gallon drum was found near the same area. I think like 1,300 feet away or something like that. And it contained 2 more bodies, but it was young girls that were estimated to be between 2 and 4 years old and 1 and 3 years old.
Oh my God.
So New Hampshire Police Department now was like, is Denise was she the adult body?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of tracking. And they tested Lisa's DNA to the 4 victims, and all of them resulted actually negative. But 2 of the little girls' DNA from the barrels did match the mother's DNA. So the mom, the adult mom, the adult was a mom of 2 of them. But then there was this one that's like random. The third one that is like, whose is that?
Yeah.
But her DNA matched Kimball's DNA. So she was probably actually Kimball's daughter.
What?
Mm-hmm. So that's a whole other thing. Like, who was her mom?
Yeah. And now we have another lady that's missing.
Yes. So they still haven't found Denise, but they found another adult woman and 2 children. And then now that they found that he had another daughter, they're like, okay, so who is her mom? So there's a lot of like, who right now?
Yeah.
So this most recent question, the who of like, who is his daughter? Like, who did he have her with? And again, the DNA databases is like, what do you test it to if you don't know who he even was?
Yeah.
Or where he was living and what name was he using?
Yeah.
And so actually in this last year, like in September, they solved part of this. So they solved who she was as the daughter, like her name, and they were able to figure out who her mother was, but they still have not found where her mother is.
Oh no.
So they somehow traced that it was whenever he lived in Texas. He had met a girl named Pepper Reed.
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever they found Pepper Reed, they were able to say, okay, well, her name was Ray, and she was born, at this hospital. I think she was born in Orange County, but they were from Texas. And it seems to be the same story. He seems to do this quite a bit, where he caused another fight between Pepper and her family, and she was never seen or heard from again, but she was assumed to have just moved with him.
Yeah.
And that
she
was
just went away with her boyfriend.
Yeah, and that's what happened to
the previous.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, he seems to have a motive here, but they were able to identify that 4th girl as his daughter. Her name was Ray, and her mother was Pepper Reed. So that's where it left the open end of like, where's Pepper? Fast track again to 2017, and there's another ancestry researcher, and they called in with the clue. They had found on Ancestry DNA, there's like, you can make pages of like pin things of people, and if you're looking for someone. So she found a board from 2007 that a woman named Diane had made, and Diane was looking for her father, who had left her mother when she was about 6 years old in 1976. So Diane was now in contact with the police because they called her and were like, hey, someone called us with this clue, and we think that your father may be Curtis Kimball and that he's a serial killer. And she was like, I don't know. I mean, the timeline matches. He had very violent behavior towards me and all my siblings. He had a very violent behavior towards my mom.
Yeah.
Like, that's why my mom finally left him. So, like, that makes sense. But my dad's name wasn't Curtis Kimball.
Yeah.
And she gave her DNA, and it matched with a man named Terry Rasmussen. And she's like, yeah, so that's my father.
Terry!
So Terry is now Curtis Kimball, or Curtis Kimball is now Terry. But he's also Bob Evans, and he's also Larry Vanner, and he's also Gordon Jensen.
Good Lord.
And who knows what his name was whenever he was talking to Pepper in Texas.
Yeah.
Like, don't know.
This man has to be so smart.
Something. I don't know if it's smart or if it's just like the ability to be able to move back then without a paper trail.
Yeah, maybe.
True. The story began to spread because it's like, this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And
who is this man?
Yeah. And so a Connecticut librarian named Rebecca Heath called the detectives and told them she might have another lead. And she was like, hey, so I was doing Ancestry and I was looking all the boards again. And there's been this woman named Marlise Honeychurch, and she was missing alongside her 2 children, which sounds like it could be the victims in the barrel. And she gave information like the ages, the dates, all of the things, and it all matched up with the barrel victims. And she also confirmed that Marlise and her 2 children had moved away with a boyfriend, never to be heard from again.
Oh my God.
And the boyfriend's name was Terry Rasmussen.
Terry Rasmussen.
So now all of the victims, that cold case that they were checking into, the 4 victims have all been identified. It was Marlise Honeychurch, her 2 children, 2 daughters, and then his own daughter, Ray. But we're still missing where Ray's mother is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still missing where Dawn's mother, Denise, is.
Okay, yes.
To this day, still no one knows.
Oh.
Like, that's still an open, nobody knows.
Oh my God.
So, we're going to talk about Terry real quick. His name is Terry Peter Rasmussen.
Oh God. Let's hear about him.
Yeah, he's clearly a crazy good guy, right?
Yeah.
He was born in 1943 in Denver, Colorado. And he had been told to be like a pretty quiet kid, but like there was one event where they were at like a picnic at a park and he was like carving a watermelon with a knife, like making faces in it or whatever kids do. I don't care.
It's like carving a pumpkin.
Yeah, I'm like, whatever. I used to play with scissors all the time. Like, you get me a piece of paper and scissors and there will be no paper left because I have cut it into every shred possible.
Into pieces, yes.
So like I get the
tactile
of like wanting to do that, I guess. But someone told him to like snap out of it or quit doing what he was doing, and he chased them around the park with a knife.
Oh,
so he was known to kind of be like off the handle, but not really. He was pretty quiet, but he would have little instances like that where it was like, I'm going to stab you. Like,
I'm crazy.
Yeah. And he never finished high school. He stopped in like his junior year at like 16 and went directly into the Navy and moved around a lot in the Navy. When he got out of the Navy, his parents had a shoe store or something like that in Hawaii. So he went to Hawaii, and that is actually where he met his daughter, Diane, the one that gave her DNA to like match all of it up together, basically. That is where he met her mother, and then they moved back to America and had Diane and her siblings. And then he was very abusive to them, very abusive to the mother, like burned them with cigarettes. Diane remembers like just always hearing her parents fighting.
What a stand-up fella.
Good guy. And so she remembers them fighting and all of that. And then he leaves eventually, in 1976. She never hears from him ever again. And then in 1978 is when Marley's Honeychurch and her daughters disappear after being seen and known to be dating Rasmussen. And then March of 1984 to 1985 is when he is working as Curtis Kimball in California. And then November 1985 is when the first barrel in New Hampshire is found. In 1986 is when he is using the alias of Gordon Jensen in California. In May of 2000, the second barrels are found. In 2002 is when he was arrested for the murder of his wife, Unsun Jun, in California, whenever he was using the name Larry Vanner. And then in 2003 is when he was convicted of murder. And then 2010, he died of natural causes in prison. But it was said he had like lung cancer and emphysema and like all this stuff. But that's how he passed away in prison. And then in 2016, 2017 is when they finally start together, like piece all of this together.
Wonderful.
2025 is whenever they find out who Ray is and they're able to say who Pepper was. And that's where, like, that was up September. So they never knew to even look for where Pepper was until now. Now they know to look for her. So I bet there's even more with this case that comes out.
Yeah.
And then they also had, records and stuff like that back in the day just weren't kept very well. And so it was really hard to piece all this together anyways. But there was at one point in time whenever Lisa, who is also Dawn, when she had been taken when she was 5 and was saying all this stuff about how her father had touched her and things like that. Like, she didn't know that he wasn't her father because he had started raising her when she was 6 months old.
Yeah.
And so she didn't know that. But she also had told the officials or somebody that she had more siblings that all died from eating grass mushrooms when they went camping. That was her. That's why she thought they died. Like, he could have told her that.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a chance that he had a bunch of other victims. And it's all just, they didn't take it seriously back then because they just like didn't know.
Yeah, they're like, what can we take from this child that's...
But also at that point in time, he was only Curtis Kimball. He wasn't...
Oh, yeah. He wasn't this guy.
He wasn't Terry Rasmussen and Larry Van... Like, he wasn't all of these things. He was
that was
just
connected to all these dead bodies. Yeah.
He was just this guy. And so now that they're hearing that, they're like, can we even go back that far to piece that together too? Like, who else could he have dated under different names? And what other kids are buried somewhere else and with their moms?
Yeah.
So we know that he had like at least 5-6 victims for sure.
But there's probably most likely more.
A whole host. And one of the investigators has remembered and said about like when she asked him about Lisa, like whenever she went to visit him in prison to try and like piece anything together.
Yeah.
And was like, so you had a daughter? And he's like, well, I remember being told that I was found with a daughter and like all of these things. He was like, but I was drinking a lot back then, so I don't remember.
What?
Yeah. So he would use things like that. Like, and she's like, you're just like lying through your teeth.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
You're
And
just
he's
a
like,
liar.
I just was drinking a lot, which he did have like, he did have a charge as Curtis Kimball for drinking and driving and endangering his child, Lisa. He did have a charge for that before he had that prior record whenever they found him for hurting her as well. So like he got that charge somewhere in California and they moved again. And then he got the like negligence charge and stuff like that.
What I want to know is why he didn't kill her.
I don't know, but the investigators did say like the Deckers probably saved her life. They think that
just because they were more like they were kind of involved, like they saw her and they took her in and
like getting her away from him.
Yeah. But like how long was she with him, do we think, like
from 6 months to 5.
Right. And that's a long time. So like why within that amount of time?
They kind of think she was probably his like sex slave.
Oh.
Because she like whenever she went to a new family, she was like touching the boys inappropriately and things like that, which is a sign that you've been touched that way as a child. And she was doing things like that, which just show behaviors of a child who had been abused. And so they kind of think that was part of it. But why would they? That is another question. Is like, why wouldn't he kill her if he killed the other siblings? Like maybe he did have more of an attachment to her.
Yeah, but that's probably why. You're probably right. Ew, what a creep.
Yeah, and apparently he had these like crystal blue eyes, and they were like very unnerving just because they were so blue.
Ew.
And yeah,
I've heard of him before. I've heard of the Chameleon Killer before, and the bodies in the drums.
Yeah,
maybe I just didn't realize that was the same person, and like I didn't know those background details of the case, but like I knew that there was like people that had been found in drums that hadn't been identified.
Yeah,
for so many years, but now I guess this year, just last month or 2 months ago now.
So I think there's going to be a lot more of like developments. There's also another podcast. I am going to put them out there. I only listened to 30 minutes of one of their episodes, but they really break this case down into like 6 parts, and they do well. Just from what I had heard, it was called like Bear Creek, and that's it. And they talk about like their episode on Unsun Jun was 45 minutes. So like they really get into it. So I would recommend them if you want to know more about this and because I know I like lightly brushed over it. Like I got into details to give you the case, but I didn't give you like 8 hours of the case. If you want that much information, definitely go listen to that guy.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm like, give me I want the nitty gritty of it. I want what's going on, who it is, what he did, what he was charged with, why. I don't need to know all he woke up in the morning and he brushed his teeth and then he took a shit and then he went outside and decided he was going to kill this girl. Like,
yeah, there's poop particles on her arm from him taking a shit. And that's how we have the DNA.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know, like,
give me that.
Give me the nitty gritty.
There's some I want to know, like psychology wise, why, like Zodiac, stuff like that. Like I want to know like the Mindhunter type stuff that I want broken down. But there's a lot of stuff like that I do. I fast forward through parts. I'm like, okay, like documentaries. I'm like, all right, I don't care about that part. Like,
I want to get to the good stuff.
I know some of it matters, but also part of it, I'm like, no, I don't think
sometimes it does matter. Like sometimes those tiny little details are what makes you go, oh,
that tracks.
But then sometimes it's like, okay, this is not
too much.
I don't need to know all that.
Yeah. I don't need to know that.
Yeah.
I'm happy he brushed his teeth.
Thank God. Thank God.
But at least his breath didn't stink.
But then he went and killed this woman.
Yeah.
Brutally. And stuffed her in a drum. That's
horrible. I do want to know, like, how many people did he do that to? How many women?
There's got to be more.
And it sounds like he just like alienates them, takes them from their family. It
and
sounds
nobody,
like it's like they were like 2 of them. This happened at Thanksgiving. 1 of them happened at Christmas. So it's like he starts a fight at like the family holiday and then moves them away. And then they're never seen from or heard from again.
And like nobody's checking in on them.
That's happened. That was 3 of the people in this story it happened to. So that's what they said. At Christmas, Pepper most likely was already showing. Maybe not. She was probably about 18 months pregnant at that point in time. Or not 18 months.
I was like, whoa.
18 weeks pregnant at that point in time. If it was her first pregnancy, you don't really show till like 25. You kind of do, but not like a huge difference. She could wear a baggy shirt and like you wouldn't know. But apparently hers was at like a Christmas party was the last time that they saw her and whatever, because they got in a fight. And like, it's like he orchestrates these fights at the Christmas party. And then 2 of them were Thanksgiving. I want to say like Marley's Honeychurch and maybe Denise were both at Thanksgiving. Like the last time that they saw their families was at like a Thanksgiving event where he orchestrates some sort of fight between her and her family.
That's just crazy how somebody can have such an influence.
Yeah. And they kind of think it stems from his first marriage and how she actually left him and took the kids. They kind of think it stemmed from that, where he's like, okay, well, I won't give you the option to move from me. Like, I'm going to move you and alienate you so much from your family
you
that
have nowhere, no one.
You can't. And if you try and leave, like, I'll just kill you.
Yeah.
So.
Ooh, true.
That's kind of like part of their
true
thinking on it.
Severe narcissism.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, note to self, never move away with a man.
Yeah, don't let them alienate you from your family.
Yeah, that is the number one thing is like, and I think people recognize it. Like, I had a friend who her husband they're not together anymore, thank the dang Lord. But he did. He would read my messages to her. Like, if she didn't save our Snapchat messages, he freaked out on her.
That's just
But it was because he knew that I was on her side, and I was like, get away from this man. Like, he knew that I was doing that, so he took that from her.
Ew.
Because I was like, you can come live with me. I don't care.
Yeah.
And like, she had kids, and I said, I don't care. They can live with me too. Because the
next step, when things like that start to get like hot and things escalate, like that's when you start to get hurt.
Yeah.
Or killed.
She did get hurt. And that was the final straw.
Right.
And I was like,
exactly.
Come on.
Because the next step after that is murder.
Yeah. That is, y'all didn't hear it because I'm going to cut it out, but you can hear it now. I'm going to cut it out where she said it, but she was like, put it in reverse, Terry. Oh. And I'm like, well, that's great, because we were only at like his name of being like Curtis Kimball at that point in time. And I'm like, well, that's cool, because his name actually is Terry.
Yeah. She was like, wait, I missed something. I need to go back. And I just said, put it in reverse, Terry.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, joke's on you.
Crack the case.
Yeah. Immediately clocked it.
I've got that Mindhunter case. Mind.
Good
I'm
Lord.
here for it.
Good narts. But I do think that's it. If you have anything you'd like to share with us, if you like the unknown stuff, let us know. That's kind of fun. I think I like diving into things that aren't super popular.
I do too, because you get to like have a new angle on something.
Yeah.
That isn't like the same perspective that's been forced
everywhere
for so long. Yeah.
But let us know what you think, and like, comment, subscribe, all the good things.
Keep sharing. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep commenting, keep talking to us, and send us your stories.
Yeah, at sistersofthestrange podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a listener story soon. So if you want to be featured in it, send us your stories and I'll get compiling.
On our trip, we stayed in a really scary, it was just old house, dude. It was just an old house.
Did you just like forget that you were going to tell the story?
It wasn't like a ghost story.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. It was just a really old house. Like, you could tell they added the electricity after the house had been built, because like the plugs and the conduits were like all outside of the wall, and the plaster and stuff like that. And it's squeaky. Every step you take is squeaking. And it was a big room, and I like laid down. Well, when we got there late, and someone else does live in that house. Like, it's you get your own room and bathroom and stuff like that, but like the people who own the house like lived in the other half or whatever. No big deal. And I had to go back out to the car because I left my phone charger out there or something like that. And when I got back in, Aaron was like, dude, the bathroom door opened while I was peeing or pooping or something. And I was like, don't tell me that. Keep that to yourself. So then when I laid down in bed that night, I was nervous.
Yeah.
And I tried to fall asleep first, and I did. But then I woke up in the middle of the night and had to pee. And I was like, no. Well, at one point, Aaron said, turn the TV off. And I said, I am not sleeping in this room in the dark. Like, you're crazy.
You got me messed up.
Literally put a pillow over your head, because I'm not sleeping in this room in the dark. And so I left the TV on. It turned itself off after like whatever. I turned that bitch back on. I woke up in the middle of the night and I said, remote, like turned it back on, like light, please.
Oh my God.
But the room had like bay windows at the very opposite end of it. And it's like, the room was probably like almost like the size of this room.
Yeah.
And so it's just big and scary. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I like felt weird. And so I didn't even want to it was a fluffy comforter, so you can't see over it,
Yeah.
I didn't even want to look. I just like started kicking Aaron's back of his legs, and I was like, Joseph. He was like, what? I was like, I have to pee. I need you to wake up. And he was like, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, I have to pee. I need you to wake up, because the bathroom was outside of that, like outside of the bedroom. And I was like, you told me whenever we stayed in Oklahoma, because I was nervous there too, that I could just wake you up if I needed you. Wake up. Like, you don't have to get out of bed, but just stay awake until I get back in bed. And
I think my husband would actually kill me.
Oh yeah. He was like, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, I don't care. And so he was like, fine. And he just like laid there and opened his eyes. And I was able to like go to the bathroom.
He's
and
like
I came back
sleeping with his eyes open.
Yeah, he was like, are you kidding me right now? And I was like, I was so scared I was going to look down there and just like see something standing there. Hell no. Wake up. You're going to see it too. I'm a firm
if I have to see it, you have to see it.
Literally a firm believer that if something's going to show up in your bedroom, it's only going to do it when you can see it and not when your husband can see it too. So I'm like, if he's awake, then I'm safe.
Yeah.
But I had also opened the window because that room was freaking hot. And I had kept the curtains open. And when I woke up, they were closed. And I was like, I don't know. The wind could have just like sucked them closed. But I was like,
oh, true.
But like not a fan. Well, I had to think it through so I didn't scare myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Rationalize.
And that was the morning I woke up and I put my jewelry on the dresser and the checkout instructions were here. So in that morning I went to the bathroom and then I came back to put my rings on to like leave for the day. And I went to pick up my rings and I picked up this one and I was like,
your band?
What I was reading the checkout instructions. And so I just like picked it up and I was like, what the hell? Because it's like way heavier.
Yeah,
and I was
like
what
this is new.
What the hell is that? And Aaron was videoing and he was like, I thought this was the perfect place because I was just going to tell you the ghost exchanged it. And I was like, you're cute.
Eee, that's so cute.
Love him.
Oh, what a guy.
Yeah, he said he was going to give it to me in Salem, but there was like no like right time.
Yeah, that was perfect time.
Yeah.
The ghosties did it.
Yeah. So my husband knows me very well. I love him.
Yes, he does.
Love. Love, love.
Love, love.
Love, love, love. Okay. Bye.
Anyway, that's it. Bye. See you next. See you sometime this week, maybe.
We'll see what happens.